What's up, guys? How to set healthy boundaries with your parents. 5 tips on how to set healthy boundaries with your parents. I get asked a lot about boundaries, and even if we're in therapy, anything of that sort, we're always told, hey, set healthy boundaries, but nobody really goes into any kind of detail of what they are, especially when it comes to parents. And I have people that are in their 20s and 30s even asking me, how do I set up boundaries with my parents? It's different in a relationship, friendship, work, all those different boundaries, but with parents, it's a lot different. So here are 5 tips on how to set those up. If you're new to my channel, hit the like and subscribe button. My name is Eric. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm none of that. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD. I lost a wife and a father to suicide. I've attempted suicide. I have self-harm scars. I take meds. I go to therapy. I lost a wife and a father to suicide. Was probably the hardest thing that's ever hit me because after that, I attempted to commit suicide. And I'm even a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. So I've been through a lot. So I like to share off of my experiences. And 5 ways to set healthy boundaries with your parents, because you have to realize that first and foremost, the number one thing is when setting healthy boundaries with your parents is you have to understand what boundaries are. Boundaries aren't to protect you only. Boundaries are to protect both parties. Now, I have went through different phases in my life where I had very bad relationship with my parents and very good relationships with my parents. The amazing thing is when I realized that boundaries were to protect both of us, that actually had helped my relationship with my parents the most. Of realizing that the boundaries weren't just for me, they were for them, and it was for us to be able to have that healthy relationship. You have to understand that that is what a boundary is. A boundary is to protect both of you from different triggers, from different things that can bring up different emotions, different conversations that you don't necessarily want to have. So understanding first and foremost, that's what a boundary is. A boundary is something that you prevent things from entering into your life or conversations entering into your life that are going to bring out the bad in you, the relapse in you, the self-harm in you, the spiral of depression in you, and then vice versa too. Understand that that is what a boundary is. It's a two-way street. It's 2 people protecting each other. Second one is take time setting your boundaries. A lot of times we go, I'm going to set all these boundaries and I'm going to do this and this, and we get on this go spurt. Boundaries are something that you don't rush, because boundaries are literally that important that you do not rush your boundaries. You really have to sit down and figure out and know exactly what your triggers are, what conversations damage you, what conversations have damaged them that have led from all of that. You have to go back and recall different events on how they made you feel and how did those conversations start. The more time you spend on figuring out what boundaries you need to make, the healthier ones you're going to have, because there's nothing worse than split decision. This is what a boundary is. And then next thing you know, you decide that, oh, well, it's really not that important. I didn't mean it that way. As soon as you start to not stand ground by any of your boundaries, no boundaries then really actually mean much because you already did it once. So you got to take your time with your boundaries. So slow it down when setting boundaries. And number 3 is the big one is you have to realize how to communicate and plant your boundaries. And when you're planning your boundaries, you have to be very, very clear on your communication. For example, you almost have to have a safety word. It's almost as bad as it sounds. It's like having really rough sex in a sense that you have to have a safe word. My safe word is stop. That's my safe word. Stop. If I'm in a conversation with someone, stop. That means that we're crossing a boundary. I need to stop. We need to stop. It's nothing that we have to make it awkward. We just have to redirect this conversation. It's one of those that you have to be very clear on what your boundaries are of, you know what, say you're 25 or you're 30 and you handle your own finances and all this and your parents are constantly on you of money or finances. You have to let them know, hey, I appreciate your concern. This is a boundary of mine and it's something that I want to work on by myself. I appreciate though your concern, and you know what, and shift the conversation. You let them know that this is something that I don't want to really talk about. Like, we're not talking about this anymore. Or you can get very blunt. I'm a blunt person. I'm literally like, hey, I don't want to talk about this. This is something that I don't feel comfortable talking about. This is how it makes me feel. So let's switch the conversation. I'm that blunt. But you don't have to make it into a negative. You can make it into a positive. Like, hey, I love you enough that, hey, let's not talk about this right now because it's a really sensitive subject. Maybe later on down the road we can talk about it. But right now, let me just do my own thing on it. I mean, it's not like you're making this brick wall around yourself. You've told somebody that, hey, this is something that's sensitive to me. Please don't. And please respect it. You have to remember that, because what happens then is if that boundary is then crossed and it comes at us, now all of a sudden we're hurt, and usually we'll do something to lash out, hurt the other person, and they will pull the whole line of, I was just trying to help, and then it makes us feel guilty, and then we make them even feel worse. I mean, it's a tennis match all of a sudden that begins. You have to just make it fun, keep it a little bit light. If you have to have a safety word, have a safety word. And plant that firm boundary. And parents do understand. If you tell your parents, hey, this is something sensitive, let me be the adult that I need to be. Let me be the son, the daughter that makes you proud. Let me handle it, and I'll show you. Parents usually will respect that. And parents, if you're listening to this and your kids set boundaries with you, please respect them, just like you'd want them to respect your boundaries too. The fourth thing is stand firm with your boundaries. You cannot back down from your boundaries, because as soon as you do, all your boundaries mean nothing. You have to hold firm to your boundaries. And sometimes it means walking away. Sometimes it means saying stop. Sometimes it means possibly not even speaking to them for a couple days. That's okay. Hold firm to your boundaries. In the long run, it will pay off tremendously. The firmer that you hold, the more confidence that you build, the more that you know, what I got this, the more that you've protected yourself. And the big thing is that confidence with your boundaries, that this actually works. Holy shit, maybe I need to set more boundaries with different people in my life. Hold firm to those boundaries. And the fifth one, which is the biggest one, is it is give and take. It is give and take. And one of the greatest examples, there has to be understanding. And it's not all about you. It's about both. And I might catch some hate on this, but I'm going to use this as an example. I have a lot of people that come to me and they'll say, you know what, my mental health is really messed up right now because my parents are calling me by my dead name. Okay. For those of you who don't know, if I felt that I wanted to do a gender switch, that I should be a woman and not a man, instead of going by Eric, which is my birth name, I wanted to go by Michelle. So say I want to go by Michelle. Well, when my parents call me Eric, they're referring to my dead name. That's what it is for anybody out there that doesn't understand. Now, it's not my right to be mad at my parents and be angry at my parents that you're not respecting me and you're disrespecting me when I have made this decision and they have been given all of a month, 2 months, maybe even a year to refer to me by this name, yet they have raised me for 30 years by Eric. It's understanding. You cannot play the victim card. That is one of the worst things that you can do, and that's what makes a boundary very toxic and unhealthy. That's why they're called healthy boundaries, not toxic boundaries. It's not to victimize you so that you get whatever you want. It is very, very give and take in having understanding. You have to understand the generation gaps. You have to understand the different upbringing. You have to realize of one generation is still not social media driven much at all, where another generation is extremely social media driven. When you're social media driven, you're expected to have instant results. And that's not how human beings work. Human beings are not a computer. We are more complicated than that. So you have to have understanding in those boundaries, and you can't take offense to everything. You have to have that understanding, and you can always make a little light of it and go, hey, you know what, I get it, guys. Just maybe one day you'll say this and help me. And don't do it in the passive aggressive way. Well, if you really loved me, you would call me by this name. No. That's passive aggressive. That's victimizing. You know, just let them know, hey, you know, I know that I'll always be your son. This is also who I'm comfortable with, though, too. You got to have that, because that's love. That's love and understanding. And you have to, love your parents. Don't get me wrong. There's shitty parents out there. There's shitty kids out there, too. It's vice versa. It's a two-way street on that one. I hope that this helps somebody, because we are so told so many times about boundaries. And it's also a little odd when you are talking to your parents among anybody that you'd ever talk to about boundaries and how to set boundaries, because they are so important. They are so important with our parents even. And I know that even a lot of adults struggle with it with their parents. So if this helps you, I really get those boundaries set. It really changes the relationship and actually makes it extremely healthy. If you're new to my channel, again, hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on it. Hit the description box. If you open that up, you'll see links to all my different social medias. I have links to the mental health peer-to-peer Discord communities. I have links to things on Amazon like fidget cubes and fidget spinners, things that I use to help me with coping. I have a link even down below to BetterHelp. It's trial and error to find out what helps when it comes to therapy. Even a link down below to Renewal Recovery, which is a recovery center that I work with, when it comes to actually having an inpatient care of getting your mental health back in order. I mean, you're an amazing human being, and it's trial and error in life to find what works for you, and we're all different. Most of all, I believe in you. You're a BAMF. You're a badass motherfucker. You made it through 100% of your worst days to make it through 2 today, and we got this.